Today, the Bricks and Minifigs case has taken an insane turn, and as many of you know, we've been covering this on the channel for the past few weeks. To update yourself, go check out the playlist and know exactly what happened from day one, but I'm really curious to see if this change in the case is going to impact the Bricks and Minifigs company as a whole in a devastating way. Now let's dive into the details and get all of you up to date.
So we have some really insightful documents to take a look at today, and they basically, I think, disprove Bricks Minifigs' entire lawsuit, like their purpose for it and everything like that. From the beginning of this lawsuit, Bricks Minifigs has been suing Reckless Ben, claiming that he destroyed their business and potentially cost them millions. But today, we're going to see their own government-mandated financial documents.
Now keep in mind, Reckless Ben is just a YouTuber, just a content creator that was sharing the news. Now, he was doing his own style of investigative reporting, which some looked at as questionable, but he did not ruin a company. All he did was brought attention to what Bricks and Minifigs was doing.
These are documents that they had no choice but to publish, and the numbers tell a completely different story than what they're trying to argue in court. And they prove that their business was already collapsing long before Ben posted a single video. So first of all, what even are these documents? These are called franchise disclosure documents, or FDDs. Every franchise company in America is legally required by the FTC to publish these every year, and they're required to be given to every potential franchisee before they sign anything, so the franchisees can be well informed on their decision and if they want to go forward and become a franchisee for Bricks and Minifigs. Okay. And these are publicly available to anyone, so I have the links for all the documents I'm going to discuss today and more in the description, so I actually have resources for you guys if you want to check these out by yourself. But with that being said, these are publicly available, so they're not leaked information by any means. But getting into these documents, we have some absolutely wild stuff to look at. First of all, I want to go over the government forced warning that is in these documents. So right at the top of Bricks and Minifigs 2025 franchise disclosure document, the government forced them to publish this exact statement. It says, the franchisor's financial condition, as reflected in its financial statements, calls into question the franchisor's financial ability to provide services and support you.
Wow. Okay, so it's clear right here stating that Bricks and Minifigs may have already been in financial distress, and this was back in 2025.
So think about what I just said there. That is basically the government forcing Bricks and Minifigs to warn every single person considering buying a franchise that Bricks and Minifigs' finances are so bad they might not even be able to support them. And this isn't just some professional's opinion or anything. This is a legally mandated government disclosure, which is honestly insane. So every person who signed a Bricks and Minifigs franchise agreement recently has been warned about this before they signed.
And the question is, if you're someone that's looking to buy into a franchise, does that warning keep you from purchasing into the franchise? Is that enough for you to say, you know what, maybe I don't want to open up a Bricks and Minifigs store. Maybe instead I'll go do something different.
But let's get into the balance sheet, the financials themselves, because they are very telling. First of all, the total current assets, at least as of 2025, right, were $3.7 million. Their total liabilities were $5.4 million. So their liabilities exceed their assets by over $1.7 million, which is obviously not good for them. And the total stockholders' equity of Bricks Minifigs, so the actual value of the company to its owners, is negative $621,000, so less than zero. That's obviously horrible, not good at all. And they have about $1 million of cash on hand. That's literally it. And in the balance sheet, it says there's $2.7 million listed as deferred revenue, which sounds good at first, but it isn't. It's money collected from franchisees for services that Bricks Minifigs hasn't delivered yet, which makes it a liability, not an asset. So that's $2.7 million in services Bricks Minifigs has not provided yet, or at least as of the time of this document.
It's actually easy right now already, just seeing that information, to be able to confidently say that Bricks and Minifigs was not in stable financial condition even before this entire case / Reckless Ben thing began happening.
and they had $1 million in gift card liability. So that is $1 million of gift cards that were purchased but not used to, buy inventory from Bricks Minifigs yet. So I don't know what the number is now in 2026, but in 2025, there were $1 million worth of inventory basically at Bricks Minifigs that they could lose at any time to these gift cards that were already purchased. So yet again, another pretty big liability on their balance sheet.
And I think a lot of these companies with gift cards, obviously, if I go buy a gift card to any store, it doesn't matter what it is, and I want to gift it to someone, there is a percentage of those gift cards that never get used. They get lost, they get forgotten, they get stashed in a drawer, and after about a year, I think many of these expire. So I'm sure that many companies, Bricks and Minifigs included, make out on gift cards, because let's say if 80% of people that get gift cards actually use them out of the 100%. If we're looking at $1 million, that means $800,000 from the gift cards would be used, while $200,000 would be absolute profit because those cards would never be used at all.
But weeding through all the different accounting terms and stuff that I'm not even really personally experienced with by any means, there's not much left here. There's a company that has almost no real liquid assets.
Yep.
But continuing on, it gets a lot worse. If you look at the income statement, they have been losing money every year. So in 2025, their total revenue was $13 million, over $13 million, which of course sounds pretty good on the surface, but their gross profit after their cost of goods was $9.6 million, and their operating expenses were $9.7 million. So that completely wipes out every dollar of gross profit they had in 2025. So their net income for 2025 was negative $66,914, and every year since 2021, they have lost money. And here's where it gets interesting. It's not like Bricks and Minifigs is failing in all fronts. Since the McNeffs took over in, I believe, 2018, their revenue has grown 26 times since that takeover. In the past, how many years is that? 8 years, but they somehow lost money every year while revenue grew 26 times. And that is where this gets interesting, because 42 to 59% of all revenue goes straight to the compensation. So corporate employee salaries, not back into the business, not into franchise support, not into marketing, nothing that will further the business.
Wow. So let's just say 50 to 55% of any money that's made by the company gets sent to corporate as salary. That's actually pretty big numbers right there to not reinvest.
Literally just compensation to corporate, and that is insane. And moving on, taking a closer look at the McNeff takeover, it's bad. Under the old owners of Bricks Minifigs, which they owned the company from 2015 to 2019, roughly, or at least their practices were in the company until 2019, the company was profitable every single year from 2015 to 2019. In 2018, the McNeffs took over. In 2019, they were still profitable even after the McNeffs took over. Because of that transition period, it takes time for, new ownership of the company to really affect its profits and everything like that. In 2020, the company's profit starts declining. And then 2021 onwards, it is significantly unprofitable every single year.
Did you see this? Let's backtrack just a tiny bit here. He says that revenue grew 26 times, yet unprofitable every year. Legal fees, $832,000 per year, while when they were profitable, their legal fees were $27,000 per year. What is the huge difference right there? Because those are, we're talking about an $800,000 per year difference, all only because of legal fees.
Every single year, without exception. And the per store sales peaked in 2023 at around $600,000 average revenue per store. But every year since 2023, that number has been declining, and stores have been performing worse year over year on average. And as if that wasn't enough, company equity nosedived starting around 2022 and went negative. Like we discussed earlier, it's like negative $600,000 plus as of 2025. So the pattern here is undeniable. As soon as the McNeffs took over and their policy, their management, how they're running the company was set into motion, it ruined a profitable company. It lost money every year after, they actually took over the company, and what they were doing had an effect on the profits and the revenue and everything like that.
I wonder what different practices they put into play on the takeover that allowed them or that hindered them from being profitable. And again, we spoke about in yesterday's video that maybe part of the strategy that Bricks and Minifigs has been using is this takeover strategy where you would be able to take over Bricks and Minifigs stores that were not performing properly and that weren't paying their dues properly to the franchise, taking over, making what they owe much greater than it actually is, and having them have enough product in the store that you could profit from the takeover and then resell the store yet again. If you missed that video, go check it out. It was actually insane. But I'm wondering if that was part of the strategy on this takeover.
And I'll discuss more about what I think is happening here with the Big Nefs, but moving on, this is another crucial detail. The lawyer spending. This is yes. Crazy. So under the old owners, in 2015, there was around $27,000 per year being spent on professional fees. So this is like accounting and lawyers, I believe, is like the majority of this, of what this could be. And under the McNeffs in 2025, the spending on professional fees was $832,000 per year, which is a 30 times increase from the $27,000 per year in 2015. And in 2024, it's not like 2025, it just shot up. In 2024, it was $639,000. So it's been increasing quite a bit year after year. And it's not like accounting fees just go up that much just because the company grew. I think it also has to do with the lawyers for the most part. But this added context makes this even worse. So Bricks and Minifigs, at least as of 2025, was spending more than twice as much on lawyers as on advertising for their franchises. But this is where it gets crazy. On this document, it says that there were $815,000 of advertising fees collected from franchisees. So franchisees pay corporate an advertising fee to advertise the Bricks and Minifigs brand. But the actual advertising expenses that year was $388,000.
You got to ask yourself, what's happening to the extra $400,000 plus $427,000 that franchisees were paying for advertising, and it didn't actually go to advertising. It just went into the pockets of corporate.
Less than half of what they received from their franchisees that year for advertising. So the question obviously comes up, where is the rest of that money going?
Yep.
And also, obviously, that's terrible value for the franchisees. They're paying $815,000 into a marketing fund, and they're getting less than $400,000 worth of actual advertising back. That is horrible. Also, the deal has been getting worse and worse for franchisees since 2023, because in 2023, the total investment to open a Bricks Minifigs franchise was $99,000 to $225,000 roughly, and in 2025, the total investment jumped to $241,000 to $570,000.
We spoke about this yesterday as well. The initial franchise fee was the $40,000 to get yourself into the franchise, but then all of the other fees to actually open up the store are around $250,000 to $500,000. While in 2023, it was literally half of that. The franchise fee was only $5,000 less, but the original other startup fees were half. I'm wondering why the huge jump. I don't think that there was obviously, in the last few years, everything is becoming more expensive, but not that much more expensive.
And the initial franchise fee went from $35,000 to $40,000. So they literally raised how much they charge new franchisees while losing money every single year. So the new franchisees are paying more to join a company that the government itself flagged as financially unstable. And look, there is a lot in these documents. There is a lot of info kind of confirming what we've been theorizing over the past few weeks regarding how Bricks Minifigs can seize and purchase assets and take over stores if there's missed royalty payments. all that is in here, and you can take a look for yourself because it is a lot of information to get into in one video. Perhaps I'll make a second video. But with that being said, what does this actually mean for the Reckless Ben lawsuit? Like I mentioned at the beginning, this definitely hurts their case. They're trying to claim that Ben caused significant damages of millions of dollars from his videos, from his content, from his expose, from his investigations, all of that. But it's going to be really hard to argue that when you have a company that is already pretty far in the red. Now, the burning question, what I want to get into this entire video that I kind of alluded to is what is actually happening here? Are, the McNeff brothers, are they just really incompetent business owners? Are they just stupid? They just don't know what they're doing. They're losing money every year and they're just crazy. I don't think it's that simple. What I really think is happening here is they are strategically filling their pockets. Like I went over, it was like 40 to 50% of the revenue in 2025 went straight to compensation. So compensating corporate employees. And a large portion of that, if I had to guess, would be the CEO and the COO of Bricks and Minifigs, Ammon and Matt McNeff.
It honestly sounds like they're just milking the company. Like they're just draining the money that they can out of the company, burning it into the ground, making themselves their profits, and then hightailing out of there.
And I gotta say, if you have a company that is your cash cow, it makes sense why you would do your best to personally do all these interviews and try to damage control public perception of your company in this whole controversy, especially if it is lining your pockets full of cash, like I believe it is for Ammon and Matt. But this really shows the disastrous state of the company's financials because it has no doubt gotten worse in 2026. Mind you, again, this was 2025 before all the controversy. 2026, it has no doubt gotten a lot worse. I mean, we heard that there were reports of different stores going down 25, 30, 35% in revenue. And if that is a widespread effect, and if it has gotten worse since we took a look at that and heard from different store owners, Bricks and Minifigs is no doubt in trouble, especially with all this legal crap going on as well. They're just tacking on those professional fees, those lawyer fees, really, really high this year, all while bringing their revenue down because their public reputation is suffering. And even before all of this, their company was not in a good state of affairs.
This really is clear. Bricks and Minifigs has been a failing company for the last few years from the takeover. What they really found right here is Reckless Ben, a scapegoat that they can take and they could put the blame on and sue to try and pull themselves out of this hole that even the government knows they have been in for the past couple of years, having to give new potential franchisees these massive warnings before buying into the franchise. A franchise that takes 100% of advertising fees, only spends 50% of those fees that franchisees are paying for advertising, and lines their pockets with the rest of it. It seems very corrupt, and to me, I would find it very difficult to believe that anyone would want to buy into a Bricks and Minifigs franchise after all of this case goes through. It's becoming pretty widely known now around the country, and I would be astonished if anyone would want to buy into this franchise, at least under the current ownership. Hopefully this helps Reckless Ben get out of his case without having to pay any of these fines because they are absurd in my opinion. But the entire case is crazy, and I've documented all of it in this playlist. Go check it out, and I'll see you guys over there.